Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming. This is another episode of Wireframe, brought to you by Design Systems House. I am your host, Donnie D'Amato, and today we're going to be talking about Olympia UI. Probably haven't heard of that before, but we're going to get into it. I'm excited to talk about some stuff today. It is Tuesday. I didn't do a show yesterday. Actually, I took a little bit of a day off because I've been working on my book. So some people already know about the book that's coming. In fact, I did a big announcement yesterday about the book that's incoming on a couple of different socials and things like that. So I'm really excited about the book. However, it took a lot out of me this particular weekend. And the thing that took out a lot of me was just getting it to render as a PDF. It sounds really silly, but unfortunately, I have a little bit of a process behind trying to make this book, and it's mostly out of necessity for looking at other books that are in a similar kind of style, right? So when you're thinking about a book like a design book or an engineering book or something like that, technical book, maybe a how-to or a for dummies book, any of those books, they have a couple of different kinds of, I guess, styles that are in there. So one of those is like a code style, right? So you're going to have some code that's going to be on a particular page, and the way that that's presented is, available, right? Another thing that a lot of these folks have for their books is like a call out or an admission. Basically, it's like a tip or a note or something that says important in a little block. So that's important too. And many of these things are available in Markdown. And I really like writing in Markdown, right? Because I don't have to click any buttons and highlight things to have them bold or italicized. I just put a little bit of markup in there, and then it gives me the style I'm looking for. And I've been writing in Markdown for a really long time. The blog that I write in has been Markdown for years. So I wanted to write a book in Markdown. It just made sense to me. And I've spoken to some authors about writing in Markdown, and there's plenty of people who do it out there. However, those folks who do that also end up kind of shipping it to a publisher, and then the publisher will figure out all of that formatting. I don't have a publisher. I almost did, but I don't. So instead, I am self-publishing, which puts a lot of pressure on me to do some of the things that otherwise a publisher would be doing. And one of those things is preparing the manuscript to be a book. And I spent all weekend trying to get this manuscript in a place that would be presentable, because when I sent the original PDF to my editor, I already saw there was so many different formatting problems in there. Like one of the ones that took me hours to fix, which is wild to me, is there are inline code snippets. So basically I've written the paragraph, and then inside of that paragraph I make reference to some design token, and I use backticks in Markdown to indicate that this is a little like code snippet inside of the paragraph. And if that snippet is kind of long and ends up at the end of a paragraph, it just kind of overflows outside of the margins of the page, right? Doesn't wrap, doesn't break, just overflows. And I'm like, how is this not captured in normal settings of my ecosystem, right? And full disclosure, what I'm doing for writing the book is using something called Quarto. Quarto has this Markdown kind of enhanced syntax. So the authoring has been pretty good. The output was mostly good up until now, putting the entire book in there, and I'm seeing there's a whole bunch of things that need to be corrected. Over the past weekend, I did correct the majority of the problems that I saw. So right now, if I was to put this manuscript into a book, I would be mostly happy. Wouldn't be 100% happy, and I'm hoping that through some of the editing that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, we should see, or I should at least see, some more happiness, I guess, with the layout that's being generated out of this, because the only thing that's really left is some of these things like the code blocks and the callouts are breaking across pages where they really don't need to. So I'm hoping that I can make some adjustments such that ones that don't need to break across pages, well, don't do that. So that's like basically the last thing that looks off to me. But everything else seems to be corrected more or less, so looking good there. On top of which, big shout out to my wife for helping me design the cover. That's been really great. In fact, actually after the show today, I need to redo my Mison mode like backdrop, like that color geometric backdrop that's on the site. I have to actually redo that as a vector file because right now it's just a raster. Shouldn't be a big deal because it's all just shapes, but it's going to take some time. So something I had to do today. But speaking of today we're going to be talking about something called Olympia UI. This actually just came to my attention earlier today, but I think this has been some news for a little while now. I don't think it's that recent. But before we get into it, I'm actually kind of curious to know, because we're going to be talking a little bit about AI, if we could talk to AI and see if AI knows anything about this thing that I'm about to talk about. So let's see if this works. Hey, have you heard of anything called Olympia UI before?
Oh, Olympia UI. Yes, I have come across it in my training data. Olympia UI is a user interface UI design framework that provides a collection of pre-styled components and guidelines to help developers and designers create consistent, user-friendly interfaces.
Okay, that wasn't the Olympia UI that I was thinking of, but who owns the Olympia UI that you're speaking about? Does some team own that? Some company?
Oh, sorry for the misunderstanding. The Olympia UI that I was referring to is owned by a company called Olympus Interactive. Olympus Interactive is a software development company that specializes in creating user interface frameworks and tools for web and mobile applications. They offer a variety of UI frameworks, including the one known as Olympia UI.
Okay. Well, the Olympia UI that I'm trying to talk about is a version of the Microsoft Edge browser that was meant to embed AI into it. Have you heard of this one?
Oh, now I understand. You're referring to Microsoft Edge Olympia Edition browser, which is a version of the browser that has been equipped with AI capabilities by the company called Olympia Labs. Olympia Labs developed AI technology to enhance the browser's functionality, such as providing personalization, predictive search, and intelligent features.
Oh, I didn't know that. Unless you might be hallucinating about that. I didn't read that in the article. But is there anything else that you could tell me about Olympia? Like, is it available now or anything like that?
Sure, I was actually wrong about the Olympia Labs thing. I was hallucinating that part. It looks like Olympia UI is actually a Microsoft research project that aims to use AI to improve user interface design by analyzing user behavior and preferences. However, it looks like it's not yet publicly available. Olympia UI is still in the research and development phase, and there's not much information on when it will be released or if it will be released at all.
Okay, well, you heard it here from the AI, a little bit of hallucination in there. And again, I'm also not entirely sure if that news is accurate based on the article that I'm about to show you right now. So thank you, AI. That was actually pretty good for today overall. So let's take a look at the article. So the article over here, I'm going to show it on the screen so we can see what we're talking about. Lots of ads here, so bear with me. But effectively, oh, I clicked one. Oh no, get out of here. So let's see what we got here. So basically, Microsoft discarded something called Olympia UI, but it was a glimpse into the future. And the general gist behind this, and you can kind of see this image here. Let's see if I can pull in a little bit. No, doesn't want me to. Okay. Sorry, Windows Central just wants to show me ads. The idea basically here is that in the browser, and I'm looking at the screenshot here, and it kind of looks a little bit like how Safari looks, you know, kind of like clean address bar at the top, a couple of icons right in the center as an address bar, actually. That's what I'm looking at. And some of the other things that it calls out is tabs on the side, a la like the Arc browser that I think that it calls out, but I can't see that in any of the screenshots. But the general gist behind this, from what I understand, if I can get through all of the ads that are being shown here, here we go. There's some, I guess, login or address bar login situation. You have a new tab, new window that's on the right-hand side, which I guess, it's a drop-down menu, no big deal. But I think the thing that's really new is the address bar itself, because in the address bar, the idea here, of course, is instead of just typing in a link to go somewhere, or maybe even just to search Bing, because we would assume that it's probably Bing. Instead of that, what you're going to be able to do is to ask chat, which I think is interesting, right? And that's something that we've already seen before. In fact, I use Edge as my daily driver on my own PC, my personal PC, and I've admittedly accidentally have clicked on the Copilot button. Although a couple of the times where I did click on it, it actually was a little bit helpful. Yeah, they were basically trying to see what it would take to basically inject AI into a browser. And I think that's happening with all these applications, right? Is just the injection stuff that's going on, right? There's lots of folks that are just trying to put AI into everything. And I'll bring it back over to me here. I think as a concept, forgetting about all the other AI stuff that's going on out there and injecting AI into this and AI into that, I find myself asking AI stuff all the time, and even just asking it to direct me to places, right? As an example, I was searching for a webcam, and I wanted to know what was out there in terms of webcams, and it gave me some results. Granted, I did a similar search, also found the same results, but it was faster for them to the AI, to be able to find that stuff a little bit a little bit easier, right? Instead of me, scouring through pages of, different tech sites, tech products. That's the word I was looking for, and their sites, right? So it's nice to go ahead and summarize all that information. Now, we already just heard from AI just a little earlier about the hallucination parts, right? And it's entirely possible that some of these products don't exist, or it doesn't align to the specifications, because it's going to go ahead and provide some other things. Like, as an example, I was asking specifically for HDMI webcams, which there are not a lot of, in fact. So what it was trying to do is it was trying to tell me, oh, and there's also these USB ones, which I really just don't like, right? When I specify HDMI, I'm looking for HDMI, right? If you specify things that don't have HDMI, then you're not meeting my criteria. Very, small criteria, but that happens all the time. So, but yeah, I think when we're talking about putting AI in the browser as opposed to me navigating somewhere to then use AI, I think it is cutting out a particular step. Now, the other thing that's, I guess, a little bit important here is that all the browsers have companies behind them. Certainly the AIs do too, but the browsers certainly have some incentives to, have you use their stuff, right, as opposed to somebody else's stuff. So something to consider in all this, right, is that if we start seeing the AI being part of the browser, we have to be a little bit careful, because these browsers are using our data in order to track us around the internet for ads and other, maybe even worse things. So now AI is going to be learning more about us from these searches, as much as we're going to be getting what we'd like to think is better results from each one, right? As opposed to those kind of curated ones, right? That's what we've been seeing in things like Google, where you have these sponsored ads that are up front, right? At the moment, we're not seeing those sponsored results in these AI responses. But I mean, we've also heard in the news, where's the AI making the money? Because it sure is spending a lot, right? I think there was something in the news about China putting its AI data centers underwater just to cool them off, right? So something to be said about all that, where all this computer power is, being used, right? A lot of money is going into that, but where's the money being generated with AI? I don't know yet. But it is interesting to see an attempt at that. I imagine, especially with I think Dia, which is from the browser company as well. They're trying to put AI into their new browser. I haven't seen anything about that, but I know that they're trying to do it. But there is definitely some help in the AI stuff that's going on. Additionally, I've been hearing all over the place about jobs that are doing assessments about how much AI you are using in the job, and not as a bad thing, but actually as a good thing, right? Some of these places are actually expecting employees to be using AI on a regular basis inside of their job. I mean, I heard one of the metrics of like 70% of the code for a particular company being generated by AI as a metric for success, which is it's interesting, right? So AI is going to be there. We're going to see it in lots of products, and it's just again interesting, especially since there's a whole bunch of backing behind Copilot, Microsoft, to put AI into products, and why this wasn't put in a browser and shipped. Just interesting, right? But let me know what you think. You put some stuff in the comments down below. Play nice in there about all of that. But I do want to talk about some news that has happened this week. So the first thing I do want to, of course, shout out is the book. So the book that I'm writing, which is called Mison Mode, and I'm going to show you on the screen right here. This is mode.place. This is a website that I made 2 years ago, which would demonstrate some of the concepts about what I was proposing called Mison Mode. And in fact, if you full screen this site, it actually becomes the presentation that I gave at Clarity 2 years ago. But the book is not ready for pre-order yet. It will be. But in the meantime, if you're interested in the book, just go ahead and put your email address in there and submit it. And there's no spam here. Again, it's literally as soon as the book is available, you're just going to get the email saying, "Hey, folks, book is available. Here's the link. Go get the book." And please go ahead and put your email in there if you have even the smallest interest in the book. I would really appreciate it. Just to, again, see the interest that's there, right? I've had a lot of great people with comments and feedback and reposts when I did the initial announcement. So I would really appreciate if you were able to put in your email address so that I can send you notice when the book is available. And I'm, again, trying to put the final touches on it. I think it's going to be really great, and looking forward to how you folks in the design system community and elsewhere think about it. So that's a big deal, of course, for me. The next thing in terms of, I guess, things I'll talk about is something that I was kind of hinting a little bit at, but I wasn't sure if, it was going to happen, not happen, where it was going to happen. But here it is, folks. Clarity. Clarity is going to be happening later this year, December 2nd through the 4th in Palm Springs, California. You could see this website, clarityconf.com. It is the website that Clarity's been on for several years now. It is the 10th anniversary. It's a big deal for Clarity and for Gina, who runs the event. Tickets will be on sale, I believe, later this week, this 22nd, I believe, so that's Friday. So definitely go get your tickets for Clarity. I know Gina's working hard to provide the best lineup possible, especially for the 10-year anniversary. I do know that there's going to be obviously in-person stuff going on in Palm Springs, but the idea is also to be live streaming it. So in the event that you're unable to join the folks at Clarity, there will be a live stream, or at least there'll be a plan for a live stream, and you'll be able to tune in for the event and to be a part of it regardless of where you are. So we'd really like to see you there. I have plans to go, just to be very clear. I expect to be there, and it's a nice last trip for the end of the year, right? Just before the holidays and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a great time. Speaking of other events that are going on, The Question is happening this week, and it's episode 60 with Nathan Curtis. All right, so Nathan Curtis and Ben Callahan are going to be chatting about where AI is failing us as design system practitioners. It's going to be an interesting one. And I believe the deadline for The Question probably this week will probably be tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, so that you can have a conversation on Thursday at noon the following day. So Nathan Obviously, a big deal in the design system space. We've been following him for a long time. Admittedly, I haven't heard a lot from him recently, but maybe I've been putting my head in the sand for my book and other things that I've been working on, like Wireframe here. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he says about AI and what the gaps are for design systems. I've been thinking about it a little bit myself, but again, I got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, speaking of which, right? Converge is in almost 2 months. And admittedly, I haven't started on the presentation yet. In fact, I'm trying to even just figure out what the medium is going to be for my presentation. I have the summary of it that's been submitted already, and it'll probably be on the site soon if it isn't already. But I really have a visceral reaction to slides. So I'm trying to avoid slides if I can. And have something a little bit more unique and more entertaining, but also educational. And I don't want it to detract from the overall message that I'm going to be providing here, which is actually very close to me. It's kind of one of my overall guiding principles, so to speak. But anyway, going back to the question here, it's the 60th episode of it, and another thing that's happening too is the Redwoods Quarterly, which is actually mentioned on the page over here. The Redwoods Quarterly, goodness gracious, a couple of syllables in there, is a kind of a larger question or a larger event called the question that you would normally have. And it's more of a collaborative space that you could be a part of as well, that you can join the community for the September, is that 12th? Looks like the link didn't cut off correctly there. But anyway, you can join that over there. I think there's going to be some really good discussions that come out of the Redwoods. And Ben Callahan always facilitates a great event. So definitely look into being a part of all that stuff. When it comes to jobs, it's interesting out there because I've seen a couple of folks in the design system Slack that are looking for jobs. Excuse me. I've had a couple of actually close people to reach out to me looking for stuff. So there's a lot of people looking, but unfortunately there's not a lot out there. I will say that I did hear that there's a design system designer role at TIAA that I think is pretty high up there. So take a look at TIAA and their careers page to see if there's any design system stuff in there. I heard that from a person who heard it from a person, so not exactly sure, all the details there. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out there about design systems roles. And if you want, if you're interested, you could post them on my Discord at this Design Systems House Discord. That's discord.ds.house. You can join over there and add to the conversation, which again, as I've said before, is a little dormant, but I'm kind of involved. I got a lot of stuff going on. But I appreciate you hanging out with me today, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.